So, Clayton.
Something's wrong, we don't know.
Something's wrong, we don't know, but we're going to talk about where we're at and how we got there. So we decided to put the drag car on the dyno. Actually, let's rewind it a little bit. We had a track event, which was supposed to be our last track event of the season, which we prepared for. If you would have seen the previous videos, the two events prior, we broke the diff, we fixed it, got back to the track, broke an axle, fixed that, was ready to go to the track again, but COVID hit the province that we go racing and shut everything down again, so we didn't get to race. So what did I say we were going to do, Clayton? Remember?
Run an 8?
No.
Oh,
because
yeah.
the track event didn't happen, we were going to
run the car on the dyno?
Rage dyno. So we put the car in the dyno, and I wanted to finally play around with the cam sprocket, the adjustable cam sprocket. And I need to thank Todd Pavix, Kevin Black for the assistance and the recommendation. I mean, Todd's been great help, and both Kevin as well over the years with that car and that engine. There was power to be had, we just never ever messed with it. So we put it on the dyno. I set it at a reasonable boost level, like 41 pounds, something like that. Made 689. This is how it kind of started. We adjusted the sprocket 2 degrees one way, made 554. It immediately lost like 120 horsepower. We then went 2 degrees the other way and gained like 50 horsepower, which was awesome, same boost level. We decided to go 1 more degree again. We gained again, so we went from 689 horsepower to 770 wheel horsepower with basically the same boost. It might have been like a pound or so in the difference, and it was all in just the cam adjustment. So that night, I think we ended with, I turned the boost up. It made 816. You can show that, Clayton. It made a few runs at 800 horsepower, then the highest was 816. Then I decided I wanted to turn the boost up to the highest boost it had ever seen, and the dyno pooped itself and didn't record the run, of course.
It sounds like a likely story.
It does sound like
it
did.
Like 4 times.
Yes, and then we did another repeat run, and it did the same thing again. And I was like, well, I'm not going to continue running it. We got to fix the dyno. So we took the car off, we fixed the dyno, then we came back you would have a couple runs of this, right?
Oh yeah.
So you can add some of that stuff in here. Playing around with some cam timing.
Alright.
We started at this boost level. Well, actually, that was a little more boost, but with very little difference in boost, like maybe 1 to 2 psi, since we started the cam adjustment, which we're going to probably make another change. We gained like 100 wheel horsepower. We then came back and put the car back on the dyno, and I turned the boost back down because we wanted to try to play with the cam sprocket some more, to see if we can free up some more horsepower before cranking the boost back up. We made a few runs, like at around high 700s range. I think 798, stuff like that. I was making around 800. And the dyno decided to not work again. But at the same time, we noticed a little bit excessive crankcase ventilation prior to normal. It wasn't smoke. You have some of that?
Oh yeah. Well, that's not ideal.
wasn't smoke or anything. I checked the dipstick. Everything was good. The engine ran perfectly fine. But something just didn't seem quite right. So we pulled it off the dyno, and when I was bringing it in one of the other bays, I started to hear a bit of a noise. And then I had Clayton come over one night and start it, and then the noise was basically consistently there. We don't know if it was a rattle, if it's the engine, there's no smoke or anything like that. But we're gonna get to tearing into the engine now. Maybe it's something stupid, maybe it's broken, we don't know.
Did you say another thing, you turned the RPM up?
Oh yeah. So
that was the second, the very last time it was on the dyno when it started smoking.
Yeah.
That's the issue. You turned, well,
it wasn't
the issue,
smoking.
but it wasn't smoking. No, the ventilation,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You had turned the RPM up, and it hit a different part in the map, and we noticed the fueling was a little bit rich
yeah.
too, and I could smell a little bit. But
yeah, so it made I was revving it to 9,200, and then we turned it up to 9,500. And we didn't actually get to adjusting the sprocket again that night because we only did a few runs, I think is how that all started.
Yeah.
And then the dyno problem, and then anyways.
All right,
so
well,
now
let's go check it out, see what's
what
up.
do you think it made though? Let's just guess. What do you think it made?
Made broken.
No, I mean before, like on the runs where it was like
mid 8s, I would say.
yeah, I would say probably like looking at the run prior to it,
Yeah,
when the dyno crapped the bed.
Look at the graph.
816.
More boost, just.
And we threw another few pounds of boost at it. It might have made 850, but who knows at this point. So let's get to finding out what's wrong with it.
Are you excited?
Yeah, the engine's been around for a long time, so it's like, it is what it is. Okay, so we're gonna start getting into the Mark III, find out what's going on with it. There is a sound, you can't really hear it when the engine's running, but you can hear it in the car, but outside the car it's really hard to hear. It doesn't smoke or anything like that, so we're going to do a couple things. Going to pull the pan off of it and obviously check rod bearings and all that stuff. But it did drive, off the dyno and everything, so I'm going to do a compression test first, just for the sheer fact that once I tear everything apart, I'm not going to be able to, I'll be questioning if it, if there's something happened to the pistons or something like that. So I'm just going to do that just as a sanity check. Then we'll pull the pan off and start looking at this thing a little bit further. Okay, Clayton, what have we done so far?
Well, we took the valve cover off, checked the lash caps.
We did check, I did.
Compression.
Check compression, which would be in the video because we talked about that. We checked the lash caps just to make sure with the solid lifter stuff. It didn't really sound like, it's really hard to hear where noise is coming from with an exhaust that's pointing directly in your face.
Did you explain too, like inside the car it sounds terrible? And
inside the car sounds worse, outside doesn't sound as bad.
And then like stuff like this, it just...
Yeah, because everything rattles. It's a junky old Mark III.
Look at this headlight, that's...
Yeah. So anyway, there's lots of things that can rattle, but we checked the lash caps, it's basically in spec, right? A little loose in a couple spots, but nothing to worry about. So now we're gonna take the pan off, get up in the air, take the pan off, and see if there's anything in there.
I want to address one thing for the people that are going to view and say comment. This is a TT on the dyno. It is quattro or all-wheel drive.
TTRS, actually,
TTRS,
not just a TT.
And it is all-wheel drive, and it's running on a front-wheel drive dyno. So
no, it's not. That's sorcery.
Okay, it's magic.
Sorcery. It's not. Those don't come all-wheel drive. They only come front-wheel drive.
Gotcha.
TTRS is they
TTRS
only come front-wheel drive.
One wheel.
Okay. Work. There we go. So now it's time to take the pan off. We're still chasing the mysterious noise. What is making noise here? Yeah. What's that? Looks like paint. Orange paint? What is that? Should be in there. Looks like orange paint. Or rust. It is a rot rod. Little crummy down there. Little crummy down there. I can't tell wearing orange gloves. Yeah, but look at the gray. Look at the gray.
I'm gonna drain some of the soil out to see if.
I don't know how we're gonna do that.
Catch
We need
some
a
of that?
filter. We need a filter.
You need some paint filters from next door.
I'll go get one.
When Dave was over getting some filters to filter some stuff, I got looking at some of the rods. And you probably won't be able to see, but This one rod has some discoloration. So Robbie's taking off the oil pump and we're gonna take a look to see, how'd that feel?
That felt good. Real good.
We're gonna take a look to see what's going on here. No answers yet. It's a nice filter.
It's not performance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're folded under each other.
Oh, there's no bearing there.
No, they're folded under each other.
Oh, sweet. Oh,
Shine the
Yeah.
light. You're pointing the light at me, but if you turn it, don't touch it yet. Shine the light that way, yeah.
Sweet.
The bearings aren't supposed to be like that.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be there. That's supposed to be up.
Yeah, well,
Here.
if you look on this side, Robbie, you'll see they're basically folded under each other. So the bearings. Obviously, we spun a bearing. And these two bearings decided they wanted to scissor themselves. And this engine is now ready for the trash can. Because the crank is hurt enough. I mean, we could fix it, but I have a couple of cranks, so it's just really time to build a new engine. And I'll probably get this rod checked out or buy a replacement rod, so we have a set of spares. These are the boost line rods. And but the crank is, we almost caught it. It just, I think it literally spun the bearing, not on the dyno, but just bringing it in the shop. It's really hard to tell exactly, but it made no noise on the dyno at all. And it didn't make noise until we pulled it in, drove it out and pulled it in the shop. And that's the only reason why we started checking it. So, it was nice knowing you.
Some exciting stuff since.
Well, is that exciting?
Since this is garbage.
It's garbage now.
Everybody knows we're building a new engine.
Right. And it's not garbage, we're gonna fix that engine.
That's garbage. Who cares about that? It's
No,
done. It's fine.
that orange block is gonna live on until there's a hole in it.
All right, but
But we do have something new. The new cylinder head for the new engine. So, some of the things with my cylinder head that I've always complained about, and we've had problems keeping the head sealed onto the block, was it had been machined plenty of times, and it got to the point where we couldn't machine it anymore. So it's been warped for literally years. So we've always fought a problem with head gaskets because I knew I was going to build a new head. So we have a new cylinder head now. It's never been touched. It's only had the port work done. And I did a mild port and polish on my cylinder head way back, but this one is definitely more aggressive. Clayton will show the exhaust side as well. So the point I'm getting at here, look, there he's even got his name written on it.
There it is.
The good thing is this thing is straight as an arrow, and it's already had all the fancy work done to it. We're gonna do 2 millimeter over intake valves and 1 millimeter over exhaust valves. And for everybody that, you know, it seems like we do have some 16 valve people that follow along on the channel. The power that we've made in here.
So you two? Yeah.
What?
So those two guys?
Yeah, there's two guys. The power that we've made on this is with stock valve size. So stock intake valve size and stock exhaust valve size.
And
So
not really a crazy aggressive cam either.
nope. So with the bigger porting and the bigger valves, intake and exhaust, we're hoping this thing flows a lot better than our previous head. And the biggest perk to all this, Clayton, is, as I mentioned earlier, it's straight. The other head isn't straight.
So a bit of a disclaimer, we did reach out to this guy.
No,
to get
he
this
reached
guy.
out to us.
Oh, okay.
He reached out to us and said he wanted me to try one of his cylinder heads on our engine. So he knows straight up that we're just going to provide the info. I do want to get it flow benched as well with the bigger valves and stuff, so that he has some info to fall back on his port job. But we were looking for a new cylinder head anyway, and he reached out to us and wanted us to try it out. So we are more than willing to try it out, and I'm pumped to try it actually. So be sure to check out his Instagram account, and I'm going to put his contact information and stuff in there. Reasonably priced porting. I'm pretty sure he does this on the side, so it's like a passion thing for him. But he's got lots of information and lots of data porting lots of these, both Volkswagen and Honda heads. So be sure to reach out to him. Thank you, Jeff. So now what, Clayton? We build a new engine.
Well, yeah, but it's probably going to be April when we have that footage.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have everything. We're waiting on buckets. No, not buckets. Gee whiz. We're waiting on. You like that? Jiminy Whiskers. We're waiting on. What am I talking about? Seats. We're waiting on valve seats.
Oh.
Because the seats got to all be replaced in that new head. So once we get the seats, then we have everything to do the new block, which is getting aluminum rods, girdled, it's sleeved, it's got all the stuff to.
They've heard all this story before.
Maybe, but we got new people that visit the channel, so.
Watch the old videos.
Well, okay, watch the old videos. Okay, so yeah, here's what we ended with. These bearings decided to overlap each other and womp womp.
They're an item now.
They're an item, and who knows when we'll get to tackle this thing again. I was hoping to try to play with the cam sprocket some more, and just so people can see, Clayton. We're only adjusting because of this engine. The cams are joined inside the valve cover with the chain, so we can only adjust this single cam, which is adjusting both cams at the same time. So, Clayton, what am I forgetting? This is a pretty scattered video, but we missed the last track event. We fixed the car for the last event. We rage dynoed. We gained some power by learning. Broke it. But we got a new cylinder head and we're ready to do the new engine. Right?
Right.
Robbie? Right?
Hey.
Robbie's impressed. He said he's already bored of this
Is it
video.
depressed or impressed?
He said he's already bored of this video. So thank you guys for following along. We're definitely gonna have a whole bunch more with this thing. We're planning on making a bunch more power than what we have. We were doing some learning and it just, oh well, this thing expired. So it's time to build something better. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to ask them below. Clayton, am I forgetting anything?
I don't know.
Don't forget to like and subscribe as always. And see you in the next video.
You followed it?
Yeah, I don't want you to film all the fucking rottenness that is this car. Yeah, so you can see the bearing. Yeah, that's perfectly it actually. That's copper. So, although there might have been some pieces of paint in there, that's all bearing obliterated into. Oh, Clayton dropped
down
that. It's alright, you can see it reflecting in here.
Looks like fool's gold.
Kinda, yeah. Who's the fool? You
me.
are? GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording.